Hey guys, Lord here, back again with another action figure review of something I was looking forward to until I opened him, and that of course is going to be none other than the Elite Edition Lich King, aka Arthas Menethil from ye old world of Warcraft, or Warcraft, because he pretty much looks the same in both games. That said, this of course is brought to us by the not-so-fine folks over at McFarlane Toys, who have really been testing my limits this past year between all the platinums, the price hikes, the lack of accessories, the lack of just giving a crap in general. Not the best track record, especially when you're losing the DC license. But after getting good old Arthas here, it shouldn't be all that surprising, at least to me, why they lost the DC license in the first place. And we're going to talk about all that. But first, I'd like to give a shout out to Walmart, which is where I purchased this figure from, for not only delivering on a pre-order, but also having grade A customer service that is currently helping me out with this problem at the time I'm recording this review. Once it's posted, I should hopefully have already gotten my money back or some sort of replacement, which is how it should be. But if you try to get that through McFarlane Toys, you'll be lucky to even get an automated reply. Hence why I mock this company's incompetence on a daily basis. So, with that being said, before we get too far ahead of ourselves with rants, raves, and rambles about the sheer disappointment that is this figure, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review and take a look-see at all good old Arthas has to offer in terms of accessories, starting off with a collectible trading card with bio on the back. He's an evil SOB from a multiplayer online RPG. There you go. There's a lot more to it than that. For example, I discovered this character through Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock, where he was not DLC, but an unlockable character, along with the Minotaur, which I also think was from World of Warcraft / Warcraft. Don't quote me on that. That said, as far as actual accessories that are usable for this figure, we have a single grip hand for the right side and a pointy finger hand, or booger picking hand as I like to call it, as well as a pair of, well, this one's a little bit too open to be a trigger finger, but trigger finger hands nonetheless, because everyone knows Arthas Menethil uses guns in World of Warcraft, right? That said, never fear, Frostmourne is here. His actual weapon, which is gummy. You know, it kind of sucks, especially since this is bent. So I'm going to have to straighten that, but that'll be an easy fix. But the detail and the sculpt on this thing are incredible. I just wish it was a little bit more dense. Like the NECA version from the Heroes of the Storm Lich King we looked at earlier this year. Now these are actually a little bit different. Same idea, but I'm guessing the Heroes of the Storm Frostmourne is supposed to be different. But either way, I'm obviously going to have to use the McFarlane one with the McFarlane one, because I think this one's a little bit too small. I know the blade is definitely longer on the McFarlane one, but it also feels skinnier in comparison. Whereas the handle on this one feels a lot longer. It's very odd that they don't just look the same, because both McFarlane and NECA are capable of making really detailed weapons. And they both did, but like I said, must be a Heroes of the Storm thing. That said, we also have his unhelmeted head, which why you'd want to display him like that, I don't know. But you got it. And then you can actually take this out and swap in this head, which plugs in just fine. Looks cool, I guess. But yeah, I'm not planning on using this, so that'll go in storage most likely, if I don't have to physically bring this back to the store. That said, he also has a couple redemption codes. One for some World of Warcraft DLC, the other one for, I don't know, points on the McFarlane store. Not sure what the heck I'm going to buy on there because everything's freaking sold out. That said, he has a hockey puck display stand releasing with all McFarlane Toys releases, which he surprisingly does not need, despite the fact that my figure likes to do this. Can you tell? He's doing the jitterbug. And that's not all. If I pop his very loose shoulder joints up, it does not take any heat to pop him in half. Great quality control, guys. Not to mention, he's got like DC Multiverse Year 1 torso articulation. This is not a double ball peg. Why? Why is this not a double ball peg? Who engineered this? You frickin' schmuck. Whatever, I guess. Now if I can pop him back together, which apparently gonna be easier said than done, unfortunately. There we go. There we go. We can look at the rest of his articulation. I will say, the cape is nice. It's the same type of cape as Spawn. Feels like really nice, like Halloween-y cloth. It's got a nice wire in it. You can pose it. I've done that. That's fine. The head sculpt, really cool. I'm not used to him not having hair in the front here, but I guess that's so you can actually turn his head, which is still kind of limited. But maybe he didn't always have hair in the front. Like I said, I'm used to the NECA one, and that one has that. That said, his head is also not the tightest thing ever. It literally just pops right off. He's got the double ball peg, but you barely get anything out of it. So that's great. So his head is loose. I could deal with that, though. I could deal with the head being loose because it's the head. I'm not going to pick him up by that. Not for nothing. It does actually stay on there. So, you know, there's that, I guess. He's got ball-jointed shoulder pads. They move around. Shoulders. Now, the rotation in the butterfly cap, the beautiful butterfly cap, are not bad. Moving up and down is fine. And then the cap does move back and forth and up and down and whatnot. But the hinge is barely even ratcheted. This is a $50 figure, by the way. He's got a bicep swivel, single jointed elbow, which barely does crap. Now, I'm sure if I use a hairdryer, I can get the shoulder or elbow pad to move out of the way. He does have ball hinge wrists. Ironically, tighter than any other joint on the figure, even though they don't have to be. The swivel works both in the arm and in the hand, so that's fine. Torso is borderline junk. It can't maintain a pose. It just flops back. It rotates, for what that's worth. His freaking arms are falling down as I'm trying to show you that. He tilts. He feels like junk. I'm sorry, but he just does. Like, not for nothing. I said this in my Instagram unboxing. He's floppier than my Pinar on a Sunday evening. Like, really? What is that? His waist is also on a ball joint. Leans back and forth. The waist is not terrible, but it's still, if it weren't for his belt, probably also be loose. So that's cool, I guess. The hips, this one isn't terrible. This one is pretty floppy. Then the forward and back is fine, especially on this side. Thigh cut on this side is fine. Knee joint on this one is fine. Thigh cut on this side is pretty loose. Knee joint on this side is pretty loose. And then he has, I want to say ball hinged ankles, but they might just be ball pegs. I can't honestly tell. I think they might just be ball pegs. See if I can get in there. Yeah, it's a ball peg. It's just a double ball peg in the foot. But, yeah, it really sucks that this cool, dare I say it, overlord-looking guy is a floppy mess with antiquated articulation for no reason. Like, the torso joint should have a double ball peg. What's up with that? This elbow, the one on the sword-holding arm, is loose. And then the hips are not the best. This knee is not the best. And this torso is abysmal. So, this is a terrible figure. I'm hoping I just got a fluke and I can get another one. He's still available in some places, so I'll just do it there. But I shouldn't have to do that at all. For $50, this company should get their crap together and put out something decent. The other two Elite Editions I've already looked at, the Lilith and the Spawn, did not have this problem. And they came out before this guy, so I don't know what's up with that. I don't really anticipate Shadowhawk to have these problems because he's a more, dare I say it, DC Multiverse-esque build. He's not like a big, tall, spooky-looking armored guy. So he should be pretty easy to do. Even Savage Dragon has a little less going on than this guy. So I'm hoping that since that's the case, they'll be a little bit less cumbersome to deal with and won't be prone to such atrocious quality control issues. But this has to be the most disappointing figure of the year for me so far. If I can get him fixed, get him replaced, whatever need be, then I'll admit that. But my review, as it stands, do not buy this, because you risk getting one that's loose as heck like mine, and, well, you're not going to enjoy it. So, with that being said, I think it is time now that we move right along and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here is the not-so-good old Elite Edition Lich King. Not just because he's a bad guy, but also because, well, mine at least, sucks pretty hard. Alongside his NECA Heroes of the Storm counterpart, which, not for nothing, I'm not an expert when it comes to World of Warcraft, but is he supposed to be this freakishly tall? Because I know NECA is known for 7-inch scale figures, and I do believe this Heroes of the Storm Lich King is a 7-inch scale figure. Why is he so teeny tiny next to this McFarlane one? It makes no sense to me. But I would recommend anyone looking for a Lich King get this one, this older one from NECA, because it's a lot tighter, first of all. It doesn't have any gummy plastic, and looks just as nice, in my opinion. But he also has a strange oily leakage problem. I don't know if it's the plastic they used or the paint, but I literally cleaned this guy up back when I reviewed him earlier this year, and for whatever reason, he's already leaking that stuff again, and it's pretty bad. So I wouldn't recommend either of these, because the NECA one, I guess, breaks down because of the oily paint or plastic or whatever. And then the McFarlane one, you're possibly prone to getting one that's super loose. That said, speaking of McFarlane, we have a better Elite Edition figure that I paid $60 for, and that is good old Al Simmons, aka Spawn. This is classic Spawn, 90s Spawn, whatever you want to call it, Spawn from the Image Comics Founders line. And this is fine. I had no issues with this Spawn. Torso is tight, shoulders are tight, hips are tight. Only thing that was a little loose is the ankles, but I can get him to stand just fine. So I don't understand how we went from him to this. Even, like I said, Lilith was fine. So what happened? Seriously, what happened? It feels like they're made by two different companies. But getting these two out of the way, and I don't know if I mentioned this in my Lilith review because I did use Spawn in it, but I attached the flame thingy how it's supposed to be. It's more like a fist or punch effect as opposed to him conjuring the necroplasm out of his hand. It said we bring in our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's brother Mandibilith, and the infamous 11 Spawn, who ain't towering over everyone today because Arthas is a giant. Again, is that accurate? He seems a bit tall, and I feel like if he was smaller, he wouldn't be quite as loose, but that's just me, I guess. So, with that being said, I think it is time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, in what had potential to be one of my absolute favorite figures of the calendar year 2026, for those of you watching this in the future, is completely ruined by the incompetence that is McFarlane Toys. I don't know what happened to this company. Back when they first got the DC license, they were on top of the world, their customer service was existent, and their stuff was a lot easier to get a hold of. Now, their stuff is some of the utmost expensive, with poor quality control, and a sheer lack of any self-awareness of the incompetence that lies within. And this Lich King is no exception to that, because for $50, I got a figure that looks cool and on paper seems a little bit more worth it than some of the other collector editions out there, but at the end of the day ends up being a floppy mess. And I am sorry, but in the calendar year 2026, as I said before, that is inexcusable, unacceptable, and outright ridiculous for a $50 price point. And y'all wonder why they lost the DC license to Mattel. So, with that being said, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the fine folks over at Walmart are able to help me out with this problem. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review, for better or for worse. But until next time, I'll catch you guys later.